Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Good Girls Get Rich podcast. I'm Karen Yankovich, and I'm so excited about our guest today. Actually, we were chatting before the show, wondering how we didn't know each other before this, because she's in the New York City area. I'm in the Bergen County, New Jersey area, and there's a lot of overlapping with entrepreneurial events and things like that. So I'm really looking forward to getting to know more about Ruchi Pinniger, because Ruchi focuses on helping women prosper, right? Who doesn't want more of that? And you know, the obviously the title of the show is the Good Girls Get Rich podcast. But really what I mean by that is when you are doing what you love and you're doing what you're good at, that's where abundance comes into your life. And abundance, yes, we want more money. Like, let's just get real. We want our cups to be overflowing with money. But there's other ways to prosper, and there's other ways to feel abundant and to feel rich. So I think we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. So let me bring on Ruchi now. Hey, how are you?
Hi, how are you? It's so good to be here with you, Karen, and with all your listeners.
Well, it's so good to have you. Ruchi Pinniger is the founder and CEO of Watch Her Prosper. She's helping women to redefine prosperity in business and in life. Ruchi's holistic approach to serving her clients helps her to provide financial guidance, bookkeeping, tax time readiness, rooted in heightening her clients' prosperity mindset. Ruchi connects the business to the person, helping clients through her signature approach, which is free from shame and guilt and gives them the power to create huge results in their profitability and economic growth. She is an executive board member for Savvy Ladies, an organization that helps women improve their financial literacy and take control of their money. Ruchi's been featured on the Karen Hunter Show on Sirius XM, Millie, SEMA, and Best Self Magazine, and lots of other places. She loves traveling with her husband and her teenage son, and they're foodies, and they do all kinds of things, and she's been doing this for a lot of years. But I'm not going to read all this stuff. We're going to just jump in, because here's what I believe, Ruchi, to kind of set the foundation for this. I believe this world needs more wealthy women. I think women with money can change the world. We can donate money to causes that are important to us. It gives us more freedom. It gives us more choice. And we women need to do a better job at earning and keeping our money. So thank you for doing the work that you do to help us with that.
It is an honor. It's a true honor to get to do this work, really.
Yeah. Well, what brought you to do this work? What made you, what got you started in working with finance?
Well, actually, okay, we have to rewind to talk about that, because let me just share with you what really got me here. It's as all of us have a beautiful journey leading us where we are. So for me, I grew up here having immigrant parents. I actually lost my parents really early. By the time I was 15, I had no parents. Crazy. I do really remember my childhood, though. I remember, lots of really beautiful memories. And also, I remember this one thing that really stands out was all of my classmates, my classmates, my friends had all of those new designer jeans, all the things that were coming out. So I'm like an 80s girl. So I think about the Jordache jeans. And I remember thinking, those jeans, those things, those tangible things are what really creates happiness. And if I had those, I'd have this perfect life, the way it looks like they have from the outside.
Right.
So fast forward many years, and I'm on Wall Street, kind of feel like, oh, I finally made it. I'm finally making all this money. And I bought my coveted Prada bag. And yeah, really exciting, right? You think, okay, this is it. This is my moment. But here's the thing, Karen, nothing changed. I went into debt and nothing changed. It was that you had that momentary fleeting satisfaction of like, I finally made it. I got this thing that I've been wanting. But life was no different. And that's when I really realized that prosperity comes from the inside. And now, as you kind of talked about, the work that I do, a key piece to the work that we do at Watch Her Prosper is really helping women to redefine prosperity.
That's so important, because, it is fun when you have, when you can just walk up to a counter and buy yourself a Prada bag, right? It is fun to have that kind of cash, to be able to make those kinds of decisions. And it's also, I feel like there's another part, and that's part of our journey, right? But there's another, I think there's another part of our journey, and that is, what am I doing with all this stuff, right? Like, what am I doing with all this stuff? And I think about, I have 4 kids and they're grown now. I've got a couple grandkids now. And I think about just all the stuff. And I think about what they remember isn't the Jordache jeans or whatever I bought them, right? Or whatever that was the thing at the time. the experiences we had, the times we spent together. And that, as I started to build my business out, is what is kind of like what I do work for. Not that I don't want to be able to take my whole family on a great vacation, but it's not because I want them to be able to go on the vacations, because I want them to have the memories of spending time together. Right. And we need, and earning money allows us to do those kinds of things, right? Earning and keeping money.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So thinking about it from that perspective is the experiences. And yeah, it's great to be able to buy the things you want to, I have lots of designer bags, but I don't buy them because they make me whole. I buy them because I just think they're beautiful and I like them and I can. So it's really, it's true what you said, and the experiences. And you as you read my bio, you understood that how much we love as a family to be able to travel and experience new cultures. And you can do those things really on any budget as well. Right.
Right. Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, okay. So you were on Wall Street. What were you doing on Wall Street, and what shifted? When did you make the shift, or are you still working on Wall Street?
I'm not. No, I've been doing this for 10 years now. So for Wall Street's really interesting because after my mom passed away at 15, my aunt and uncle raised me, and they were wonderful. And, they were the ones that got me paying attention to what do I really want to do? Because my mom actually reinvented herself in this country when she came over. She was an educator overseas in India and in Denmark, came over here, started as a bank teller, worked her way up to be an executive in a bank. And I was really thinking in high school, maybe I want to be a therapist because all of my friends would come to me for advice. And my aunt and uncle just had me step back, and they said, your mom was really great in business, and I think you'd be really successful. Why don't you give it a try? So I did. And I went, I went into business and worked on Wall Street, had lots of different roles, most notably as a CFO in our hedge fund division. And, I really loved working in the money area. I loved doing lots of things. But what I really felt satisfied in my day job doing was more of the other stuff, like the mentorship and the women's network and the leadership programs. And I really felt like there was something missing for me. And ultimately, after many years of just trying to sort of like find myself, even taking a sabbatical and then going right back into the same role, I finally left the corporate world for good. And I hired a coach, and she help me to see that there's so many other possibilities, and help me be open to the messages that the universe was sharing with me and to really listen to them. And that's what I did. I really listened, and I heard all of these amazing women who started businesses, were great at what they did, but didn't love the money stuff. And they had all the stories, all the beliefs that we carry with us from our childhood. I'm not good at the numbers, right? And they ignore them. And how can you run a business without paying attention to the numbers? Right.
Yeah.
So that's
and there's places in your body, I feel like, that you even remember a lot of that stuff. Like I was a single mom with 4 kids. I had plenty of times that, I just didn't have any money and did whatever I needed to do to keep the roof over their heads, and, did whatever. And I can almost feel in my body those spaces, like they don't go away. Right. So it's easy for them to come back to the surface and get in the way, I think, of true prosperity. And I often feel like I speak to a lot of women who, the way that I describe it is they have these beautiful ambitions. Their ambitions are like way up here. And a lot of times listen, women with a lot of money can serve at a high level too. So a lot of times it's about serving. They're not always talking about, and I want to be a millionaire, but they want to be able to help whatever they want to do. But their energy is still here. Their energies, they're still doing the things that they're here. And if it's not aligned, all the strategy in the world isn't going to change it, right? So there's so much more, I believe, there's so much more to stepping into a prosperity world with a prosperity mindset than just, reading the book or doing the work. And when I say the work, I mean like balancing your checkbook.
Totally. Exactly. I mean, you're thinking of, when I started the business, Karen, it was really on the practical, tactical, helping with financial guidance and business advisory,
which we need,
doing the
which women need. Right.
Yes. And as I went further, 10 years, it's been 10 years now, but as I went further in, I started to see there's a lot of stuff coming up with this money thing. We need to be going deeper here. So that's when I really started aligning the practical tactical work with the mindset and the spirituality. And that's really where you start to see the big shifts, when people start to let go of the stories and the language we use. And, you use two of my favorite words, energy and aligned. So you made me very happy. So it really is so integral. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So then you started to do the practical stuff with clients. You hired a coach, you started to do the practical stuff. When did you start to shift into realizing that there's more, the message was a bigger message than that?
Yeah, it was a few years ago. It was a few years ago after I really started to see it. And I started to realize that we were seeing results with our clients. Like, I can even think about a client who really just like wasn't making enough revenue, was overspending, wasn't filing taxes on time, wasn't saving for taxes. And we got her to a place, where we sort of figured out her goals and intentions, and her revenue increased, but then her spending increased. And then she spent the money we saved for taxes, and then we couldn't pay that in. And I'm like, there's something bigger going on here. And we started to go deeper just in our conversations. And she started to realize as we went deeper that there's something in her that doesn't feel safe to hold that money, because she realized something about one of her parents used to weaponize money. And so she didn't feel safe and comfortable holding on to it. So it really became something important to me. And now I've gotten certified in some mindset and spirituality work, and really integrated it in our messaging and really into the work we do.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit more about the work that you do. Like, what is it that you're finding people need?
Yeah, what we've really been doing with our clients, along with the practical tactical, is really helping them to think about prosperity in a new way. So I like to think about it as 3 pillars of redefining prosperity. So the first one is well-being, right? Because we have to, first of all, take care of ourselves. I mean, I know everyone talks about this, and this feels like sort of obvious to some people, but really thinking about, we're in this go, 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 over scheduling, not taking breaks, and sort of being busy makes me valuable society. So really asking people to step back, take into account their self-care. What do they need to do to feel like they're taking care of themselves, doing things that they love? So it's not the traditional like eat well and exercise, which are really important, right? It's just like, what do you love to do? What makes you happy? And just knowing it's safe, right, Karen? Like, it's safe to spend money.
That's prosperity, right? That's prosperity, not just the bank balance, right? That all those other things you talked about. I think that's what financial prosperity looks like. I think, to me, what do you feel like you redefine financial prosperity, or your clients redefine that when they work with you?
Absolutely. So thinking about that well-being is important. It's something we talk about with our clients. Like, how are you? What are you doing? What have you done for yourself? Are you taking breaks? We even had a client who said to us, I've never worked with a financial team that has looked at me this way. Like, I've always felt really judged. And when I tell them, like, I go get my nails done and get my massages. And what we said to her was, this is what we do. We want you to have everything you could possibly want and more beyond your wildest dreams. So really, we talked to her about adding a self-care budget in her numbers, so we could remind her of that.
Yeah. I remember when I hired one of the first CFO type people I worked with, where we put like a line item in my budget for that kind of stuff. And I could just go like get my hair done and like swipe the business card, because it was a business expense. And because it is, I'm showing up here on video, right? Like, there's important things like that can be built into your life and your business, right? So I think I started to do that when you were, Well, you started to talk about your pillars, right? So
so the well-being is the first one, really, like, just that self-care and what makes you really feel fulfilled and satisfied. And really, like, just in terms of the like practical, tactical, like, what can somebody take away from that, as well as just really being clear that it's safe to spend money on myself. It's safe to care for myself. Just getting grounded, something really easy that takes no budget. Just getting grounded. And there's so many ways to get grounded. Just take a walk in nature, spend some time by the water, right? Like singing, dancing. Right before this podcast, I was like dancing to and singing to I'm Yours by Jason Mraz. And my son was looking at me.
I love that.
But I was like doing it right before.
I want to show you something. Right. I have
really?
I have
Tell
a
me.
30-second dance party button that I sometimes
Oh, that's
need if I need
amazing.
to shift my energy, right? Where you can, hold on, where I can like, 30 seconds. Oh, look at that.
I love that.
It just totally shifts your energy. It just totally shifts your energy as you're stepping into,
Yes.
and you know what? I mean, I can go on about the importance of that, especially for stuff like this, where we're not in the same room, but we still want to bring that same energy to the room, right? Anyway.
I think that's
okay, your pillars.
perfect. I love that button. I have my money button.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's good too. That's good too. So just that getting grounded breathing. I love to do 4-7-8 breathing. So those of you, I can share kind of how to do that for those people that are interested. Are you familiar, Karen? Have you ever done 4-7-8?
You know what? I think I am, but I want you to tell me anyway, because I'm not totally sure.
All good. And 4-7-8 breathing is also really good for anxiety. So I sometimes tell my clients who are having like things going on with their children to like teach their children this. So 4-7-8 is when you inhale for 4, hold for 7, and then you exhale for 8. So you just do the 4-7-8 counts. So inhale for 4, hold for 7, exhale for 8, and all while putting your tongue right there between the roof of your mouth and your teeth. So like you're putting your tongue kind of like here.
Okay.
Okay. So when you exhale, like you're going like this, it looks kind of funny, but you're really, it really just helps you stay grounded and breathe. So that's pillar number 1 in terms of getting grounded, and really taking care of yourself and your well-being. And when you're grounded, right, that is like the perfect segue to our next pillar, which is spirituality. And this is one of those topics where, we can just simplify spirituality. And it's just purely the recognition that there's just something much bigger than us at play here. It's not just us, right? We live in this world where people want us to believe that we're just humans running around in our lack, our not enoughness. But this is just the acknowledgement that there's something greater, a higher power. So whether you believe in the universe or God, I happen to believe in both. So just knowing that you have this realization, you're part of something bigger, and that will help you to know that you're fully supported and that anything you want is available to you.
I love that. And I love that you're talking about, you talk about financial prosperity. And so far we've talked about self-care and spirituality. To me, that's so important. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so when you think about, for all of you listening, what can I do with that spirituality piece in terms of the pillar that's really like a practical, tactical tip? What can I take away from this? I want you to just start simply by paying attention to your thoughts and the language that you use. So I call it my RIR method, which is recognize, interrupt, and reframe. So think about it this way. Recognize when you're having a negative, disempowering thought. Mm-hmm. Interrupt yourself, take a moment to breathe, and then reframe it and replace it with a more prosperous thought. So, and we all do this, right? We all, like, I'm guilty of it. We all kind of, it's so hard. It's never enough time. Just pay attention to those thoughts, stop them immediately and reframe them. So I'll give you an example. One of the things I hear so often, and one of the reasons why I started this business in the first place, is hearing from clients, I'm so bad at the numbers. I don't trust myself. So just stop saying that. Just stop saying that. Because if you say that, you're just going to be bad at the numbers. You're going to ignore them. You're not going to trust yourself. So how about just reframing? Every day I trust myself more and more with money. Right?
Oh my gosh. I love that.
Right? You feel the shift. Awesome. You literally feel your nervous system go, whoosh. So start with that. And when you can do that with anything too, right? Like we're all so, like, many of us are overscheduled, always running around, rushing. So it's like next time you're like, there's never enough time, I'm so overwhelmed. It's like, no, everything happens in the perfect time. I am time. So you can do it in many ways.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. Okay. So that's 2 pillars.
Yeah, that's 2 pillars. And then when you're doing these things, when you're taking care of yourself, you're using positive language, right? You naturally create better relationships with people and money. And that's actually the 3rd pillar, right? Positive people have more positive relationships. And on the money side of things, one of the things that we love to do at Watch Her Prosper is really helping our clients shift their relationship with money and start looking at their numbers and get more comfortable with them. And most clients are coming to us because they want to get a handle on their money. So these are
Yes.
just some practical, tactical tips is just, first of all, stop avoiding the numbers. They are not going anywhere. They're going to be there. The more you avoid them, the more stressed, the more you're carrying on you. So just the more you look at them, the more comfortable you get with them and the more you trust yourself. So just like really make it a habit, whether it's a weekly habit, you could do like Money Mondays, Finance Fridays. Take the time for yourself, get friendly with the numbers,
I
understand
love
what's
that.
coming in and out. Yeah. So
You
just
mentioned
really,
the word trust yourself. There was I don't know where I got it from, but I have a program called She's Linked Up, and we have a group of women that are in this program continually. And then we have a mastermind that's on the back end. And the people in our mastermind, it's a higher level. They've been doing work for a long time. They're typically doing, pretty well, or often they're doing pretty well. And somewhere I heard this, and I'll just call it a mantra, but it's kind of something similar to what you said, like that pattern interrupt. And it is, I am trustworthy with this money. And every single person kind of went like, oof. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it was weird for me. It was interesting for me to watch it. It was interesting for me to watch it because everybody heard that and took it in. I could see them take it in a way that they felt that it needed some work. Right. So it's and I'm saying this because it's why we do this work, right? There's not one person out there that needs us. There's a million people out there that are experiencing this, but we feel like we're the only person experiencing it, right? So we don't talk about it and we don't engage with people. And when you see an entire group of people sit back like, whoa, with something around trusting yourself with the money that's coming in, if that's a thing, how is there going to be more money coming in, right? If you don't even trust yourself with it and you didn't even know you didn't trust yourself with it, right? Like it's a lot. It's a lot.
I love that you said that. I love that you said that about the trust and you shared more because if you really think about it, we're here talking about money and prosperity, but these tools can be in any area of your life. And just like the trust, the self-trust and the self-love, everything stems from that. Everything, every relationship you have, every experience you have, every choice you make comes from self-love and self-trust. So start to, work through that and just, and you can't just go from not trusting yourself to trusting yourself, right? You start with just like, it's safe to trust myself. It's safe to use my voice. I am love. Just start with these simple things that you can start to say and start to feel them and start to visualize them and start to believe them. And your mind actually scientifically doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. So when you are closing your eyes and visualizing yourself, the self-love, the self-trust, everything that you want and need, and your body starts to get more comfortable with it because your body doesn't understand the difference. That's a real thing.
Right. And there's all those studies out there about Olympic athletes that run their races in their head, and feel that they're getting the same benefit as when they run, not, or a huge benefit, in addition to the races that they physically run. Right. So there's
100%. I use that analogy. You read my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that we can read. That must be the New York thing. It must be a New York thing.
Be. But that's a real thing.
It's true.
Well, and I think, they measure.
But you know what? What I love about what you're talking about, though, is like I am all about all of this stuff, and I love understanding the science behind it, right? Because I know, and I just put a post on Instagram today, I think, so you guys will now know how far in advance we record these things if you go back and look for it. But it basically was something like, being positive, like positive thinking is the first step towards a positive life. But then I was like, I know it sounds like a motivational poster in an office building somewhere, you know what I mean? But it's so important if you can't embrace that, so we can acknowledge that it sounds hokey, but it's also important. Doesn't make it not important, to be addressing these things,
Absolutely.
So do you find that to be one of the main issues you see with new clients? Like, what are the main financial issues you see when you get new clients?
Well, when we start with new clients, it's usually more because they need help with the practical, tactical. So they haven't done their bookkeeping. They're behind on taxes. They haven't saved. They're making all this money, but they don't, they're not holding on to it. So we kind of work with them on that piece first, just to really get things in order, get their books up to date, clean them up, start to really create some saving strategies for them and new habits for them, talk to them about the revenue and like, what do they really need to make to live their most prosperous life.
Oh,
And
that's such an
usually,
important topic.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. Because what the whole thing about how we work holistically, it's not just the spiritual and the mindset, it's also aligning personal goals with business goals, which is so important because we speak so much about revenue. How much am I making? Really, revenue is great. You could be making $500,000 but have nothing in the bank, or you could be making 150K and have lots of money in the bank. So the revenue really isn't the key indicator of your prosperity, your financial well-being. It's really the habits and your choices that you're making and how you're handling your money that matter.
It's so important, because I think we hear, or at least I hear a lot of people talking about, I want to be a six-figure business owner. And I feel like there's so many people getting bad advice around that because it's just not enough money. It's not the same as a six-figure paycheck. By the time you pay all your expenses, your VA or, your tools, your Kajabi or whatever you have, right? It's not enough money. And I am not a business coach, nor am I the person you come to for financial advice. But when I talk to my clients, I'm like, listen, I'm always looking for, before we work together, your path to a $250,000 top line, because I know that's where you need to start. I feel like that's where you need to start if you want to have 100K in your bank account. I don't actually work with people to do that math. I mean, I guess I do peripherally. We'll look at expenses a little bit, but I don't think people, when they hear that, they're like, I don't know if I can be a $250,000 business owner. I'm like, well, no, you can. And if you're not, it's not enough money. And then you're continually on this hamster wheel, right? So I love that you're talking about what is the number that you need to see to be able to kind of run the business and live the life that you want.
That's right. I mean, I think what you said really makes sense. 88% of women business owners make less than 100K, right? And only 2% make seven figures. So there's that like 10% that are making somewhere in the middle. But where on the scale is the question. But yeah, I mean, exactly what you said, 100K or less, how are you even really living once you pay your expenses, once you pay your taxes and, and you pay some bills, like you're kind of done. And then there's maybe even old debt or other things you're paying down as you're sort of building. So I absolutely agree. A couple 100K is really where you need to begin to be thinking about. And a lot of that goes back to the self-trust, the self-love, the language we're using, because when we're believing what we're selling, we're able to sell it much clearer. If you notice, just think about when, somebody's tried to sell you something, if they're not confident in the number coming out of their mouth, you're not going to buy it either. But when they're like, this is what I charge. And like, I know I'm damn good at what I do. Then you're like, all right, I'm in. Nope, it doesn't.
You just read my mind. You just read my mind. We do so much work with our clients on that. I want you to believe in your heart of hearts that if your program is $10,000, that in your heart of hearts it's worth $100,000, because that's where you can just say $10,000, like please pass the salt, and if you're not. Yeah. Oh, so important. And I do think too, when this goes live, we'll be on the other side of this, but we do a lot of work. I do a lot of work on helping women. I like to call it like flipping the funnel, right? I'm not saying don't sell what you want to sell, but think about the higher ticket items first. And often women go the opposite. So the example I'll use is, if you sell pens, I certainly want you to continue to sell pens, but we're not going to sell one pen at a time. We're going to find you a distributor that wants to buy 100,000 of your pens, right? And that's like the flipping the funnel thing. Like what? And every single entrepreneurial woman that I have ever talked to can do that. They can create a 10K or a 20K or a 50K offer and just have it in their back pocket, because that conversation will happen and it will come up. And then you can look at things a little bit differently when you're building out your business. Instead of like selling one pen at a time, you're way up to 100,000, right? You can jump right to 200 or 300,000.
Absolutely. Once you get to that point, I think it sounds like you've got a really great program, really great advice you're giving.
I do.
Your people.
We do. And I think, our goal is to help more women recognize this, show up as a thought leader and recognize this that this is possible for them, and one of the things that I love most to do is to have that exact conversation. Like, what is that big ticket offer for you? And because it's so many women just can't think outside the box to get there. And it doesn't mean you can't sell one pen at a time, or you can't sell one coaching session at a time. But if you want to get to the place where you're financially free, I think thinking bigger is just going to get you there faster. So why are we going to do it the hard way? Let's take it, and then we can pay people to do all those millions of things we think we need to do, like the funnels, like the $25 to $50 to $100 things that need 60 sales pages to just get it off the ground, right? That you have to create.
Totally.
I love this so much. So, okay. I talked a lot about why I think it's important that women have financial freedom and are prosperous. You want to serve, great. Let's fill your cup up so you can serve from the overflow, right? Why do you think it's important?
Well, look, we control most of the money in the household, right? I mean, it's no secret. We make a lot of the financial decisions. And I think when we have money, we do amazing things with it. We don't keep it all to ourselves. We put it out in the economy. We share it. We contribute it, right? We really are doing beautiful work with it. And the interesting thing, even though we control the money and the spending in our households, we as women have such a hard time talking about money. Like 61% of women, Karen, would rather talk about the details of their own death, like talk about dying, than talk about money. So we want to,
Wow.
It's unbelievable.
I get it. I've had many years where I've been there. I get it, which is why I'm so grateful for people like you in the world. I have a pretty logical brain. Like, I can balance a checkbook. I have a math brain. I'm the person you want to give the check to if we need to figure out to divide it by however many people and figure out what the tip is. But that doesn't mean I know how to run my business's finances. And it took me a long time to realize that. It took me a long time to realize that just because I can do math doesn't mean I know how to run the finances of my business. And that's why it's so important that business owners bring on people like you. So when do you think it's time to bring on? Like, at what point in a business owner's journey is it time to call Ruchi?
Yeah. I mean, many of our clients have been operating their businesses and just like ignoring the numbers or not having really full support of their numbers and understanding what's happening. Maybe they have like a bookkeeper, but they're not meeting with them or they're not doing a great job for them. So when they really find themselves ready, typically 6 figures and more we're working with in terms of our one-to-one services. And it's when they really need a little more clarity as to what's going on. And really we work with them in that way and just help them get to a place of knowing what's really happening so that we can help them create their goals and intentions for the future. And I mean, the other thing is just like when you need clarity, and it's not just with our clients, but with all women, we need clarity on what we want, right? So it's not always easy for us, but when we are clear on what it is we want, that helps us. It's sort of like our North Star, and that's what's guiding us in terms of making the decisions we want to make and saying yes to things and no to things, having that clarity. So, we really work with our clients to do that as well.
I remember the first time that I made a pretty decent investment in financial support outside, more than a bookkeeper. And I remember calling somebody I knew and saying, it has got to be cheaper to pay you than to pay all the interest and fees and all this crap that I felt like I was drowning in at the time, So I feel like in some ways you're almost self-funding, right? When you bring somebody, when you come in, you can probably quickly, kind of justify your existence and justify the expense to you, and just optimizing the way the business is currently running their finances. Which is 100%. By the way, which is a pitch as to why everybody needs to call Ruchi after this. You listen to this.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really an investment. We think of it. Yeah. Thank you for the kudos.
It's important. It's important, and we're always looking for, like, if I don't have the money, how do I find the money, right? But maybe that is how you find the money, by understanding that it's costing you more to not do this than it would cost you to do it. There's so many things. There's so many. Well, you've mentioned them, but there's so many things that I can think about in my financial journey where, people just they don't understand the expenses or what they're for. And I also remember the first time somebody said to me, and this was probably before the pandemic when there was loans available to entrepreneurs and things like that, like business debt is not the same as personal debt. And I was like, huh, really? And I never really, because you think about, I can't use this credit card because I don't want any credit card debt. Well, maybe I'm not leveraging the money properly, which is why we need people like you in our lives. So what is the first step to working with you?
Yeah, I mean, if someone's interested in working with us, they can reach out over our website and they can, put in a query and just share what they're looking for and kind of see if it's a good fit. So they can go to our website, watchherprosper.com, find the contact us, or they can sign up for our newsletter and just stay in touch that way so they can learn about new offerings. The other thing people can do is if you want to really think more for yourself on this redefining prosperity journey, you can go to iwanttoprosper.com. You can download a free workbook there, a redefining prosperity workbook, and just get started on this journey a little deeper. That's another thing. You can go to askruchi.com, askruchi.com, and I have a column there. You can submit a question that could be answered in the future.
Oh, cool. Fun.
Yeah. So go on over there. And then the other thing is just staying in touch over Instagram at Watch Her Prosper. And we're putting on there, sometimes it's practical, tactical, sometimes it's spiritual, but just support and, a new way of thinking about your money coming from us.
Beautiful. That's amazing. That's amazing. We'll definitely link all of those in our show notes here for this episode. And what's on deck for you in the next 6 to 12 months? What is coming up in your business?
Lots of really good things. So depending on when this comes out, we're working on a book. We're working on a course. So, we're doing this one-to-one service right now, but there's lots of other beautiful things coming up and coming out from myself and from my company. So lots of ways to really be in touch with us and grow your own prosperity.
Well, thank you for all that you do, because I do think it's so important. And so if you're listening, there's a few things I want you to do. Number one, take a quick screenshot of this right now and tag me and tag Ruchi and let us know what your takeaways from this episode were, because we want to know. And then what we'll do, because we're both all about lifting women up and getting women out more visibility, we'll share it with our audiences, right? And that way we all get that additional visibility. Like you're helping us by sharing it. We'll help you by sharing it with our audiences. Similar to what Ruchi's saying, if you want to know what it looks like to get some support on the marketing side of this, how do you start to create market and sell high ticket programs, showing up as a thought leader? Book a call on our calendar. There'll be links here below to do that. I think that it's time for you to make some real money. It's the beginning of our journey. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I feel like there's more in store for us. So thanks for spending time with me today.
Thanks so much. What a beautiful time together. I'm really grateful to be here with you, Karen, and be here with your amazing Get Rich audience.
Thanks for being here.